everyone, it's Kayvon with Scary Art. So I haven't done this in a while, and I've decided to run a new camera instead of my phone, and I have been contemplating what to paint on next. So as you can see, my studio's changed a little bit. I put some different paintings up here. I've cleaned up my studio where I've got all my inks right over there. I've got all my brushes and stuff in the back so that I can access them quickly. And as you can see, these paintings are pretty dark. You may wonder what the texture of that painting behind me is. The painting is actually painted on carbon fiber. So this is the cloth, the carbon fiber cloth. As you can see, it's it's woven. First off, it's a tween. And carbon fiber is typically used, if you don't know, it's typically used for race car, aircraft parts, race car parts. You see them in phone cases now, and I am infatuated with carbon fiber. I mean, you don't even know. Anything that I could ever get my hands on that's carbon fiber, I've got to have. I've got to either make it or buy it. So I decided to buy carbon fiber a couple years ago, and I started painting on it. So I've painted resin on it. I've painted by hand with oils, and I've also painted with resin and metallics. So I haven't done alcohol ink yet, and I'm really excited. I want to try it. So I've got a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of carbon fiber that I have laid here. I will show you in a minute, and we're going to get started. I'm going to actually try to do alcohol ink on this. Now I've treated this, it's actually on panel because it's woven, so ink and stuff will go right through it. You can't really stretch it, so you have to basically mold it to your frame. And what I mean by that, how you do that, is you use adhesive. Once you mold it to the panel that's underneath it, then you use resin to coat. And what I do is I don't go a full coat of resin. I will do a half coat where I'll leave certain areas exposed because that's really cool to me. Once you fully coat carbon fiber with resin, it's as hard as rock. It's pretty much almost indestructible, almost. But I like it exposed because since it's woven, it allows that it gives it that delicate feel. Because when it's woven, you can literally, when it's not coated, you can literally take one of these weaves and pull it completely out, out of the weave. So it's very delicate. It can snag really quickly, very easily. So that's why I leave certain areas of it exposed, because there's an advantage there. There's just a different variation, just like you do depth or texture. So what I'm going to do now, this is already sealed. It's been sealed for a while. I'm going to mess with some alcohol inks. I'm looking for it, trying to find it. My first color that I'm going to use is white, and I'm using Pinata Blanco. And I have had experience with Blanco on different types of mediums. I have not tried it on carbon fiber. I'm not sure if it's going to actually work, if it's going to spread like I like it to spread. I'm using 99% alcohol and denatured alcohol. All right, let's do it. Let's get started. All right, so I'm back. So this is the carbon fiber piece. I can't even say it. Okay, I'm back. So this is the carbon fiber piece that I was telling you about. I've got certain areas of it reflective and coated and certain areas not. And you can see, you'll be able to see some dark reflections inside of it. You can see my reflection in it. You can see the ceiling fan above it. So it is slightly glossy, and certain areas are non-gloss, like on the edges and stuff. I want to leave it out. So the colors I want to use are going to be Pinata and Pinata Brass, which is very gold-like. So these two colors. And again, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using, this is denatured alcohol, right over here. And I'm using 99% isopropyl. I purchased this it was before the pandemic. So I just, happened to buy it off of Amazon. I needed roughly, it was just a case. I use most of it for disinfecting and stuff, but this is the amount that I have left over, and I wanted to kind of experiment with this. So I'm not using all of it, but just enough to get some white. Now, the idea for this is I want to leave, it's not going to be very similar to some of the other stuff that I've done where it's just packed with stuff. It's color everywhere on the edges and it bleeds off. I'm going to do a little bit more minimalist on this, or I'm going to try, and that's going to be very difficult, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to go primary white, and I'm going to add hints of gold. All right, and that's it. 2 colors, and that's where we're going with. So let's get started. All right, I want to check to make sure my blow dryer is working. I've got a link to all these items that I'm using. This is the Giotto lens cleaner. I typically use this. I think I started using this and others have caught on, which is great. And I'm also using just a blow dryer. I typically cap off the top so you'll hear it change, and that allows me to control the amount of air. Even on low, I can cap it and it reduces the air, so I can control it that way. And just a traditional, I use plastic cups. I use measuring cups like this to probably mix some gold in here if I need to. And that's pretty much it. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually, let's pour some of this denatured in. So I'm just pouring the alcohol down. I got to coat this really well because this is going to fade away quickly, meaning it's going to disperse or dry up pretty quickly. So I want to coat the area that I want to do this in. And then now, I'm noticing something. So the ink is actually, I need to lift the canvas up because what's happening is it's not even because I'm relying on the base of it. So I use these little triangular frame holders or canvas. They're I don't know, I got them off of a painting place. I guess they put lids and stuff on them when they paint the cabinet doors and such. And I just use these and it helps balance the canvas. There you go. So it's not running as much anymore. Alright. There we go. I can drop this one underneath it as well. Alright. Let's pour a little bit more down just so that it's coated well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a couple drops here. You see how it's moving up? So it's still not balanced. And that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. So let's see if we can keep it. Okay. All right. So all I'm doing is I just want to spread this out. Not going to use the blow dryer yet. Okay. Drop a couple more drops. Alright. So I'm literally trying to solve for this as I'm doing it because I'm not exactly sure what this white's going to do. This white paint from Pinata. It says it's an alcohol ink, but I've never had really good experience with it, so there's a first time for everything. It dries really quickly, it looks like. As you can see, it dries very quickly. So we're going to add more alcohol. And it doesn't look like it's staying on there, and that's a good experiment. And I'm glad I'm bringing this experiment to you as I'm doing it, because then you start learning about my process and how you may be able to improve my process by doing it yourself. And you notice it's just breaking it up. And I'm not really fond of that. You know, I don't like the way it's breaking up the ink. You see how I can't do anything with that right there? See, it's become this powder. I don't know if you can tell. See, I'll lift some of it so you can kind of see. It's become like this granular, powdery effect, and I'm not too fond of that. So what we're gonna do, fortunately it's alcohol ink, and fortunately this is carbon fiber, so I can literally just wipe it off and start over. And this time I'm not going to use the denatured, because I want to test to see if it's being caused by the denatured alcohol or is it being caused by the ink itself, if the ink itself is bad. So let's do it. So I have a little bit here. I'm going to let this dry. Let me wipe it down again. You've got to be careful with carbon fiber, because if there's a splinter, it will penetrate my glove easily and it'll go right into my skin. Let's see. Let's try a couple more drops and see if it's the ink itself. It looks like it is, and maybe we're spreading it too thin. So let's move it back in and see if I can get it to move, but it clumps up. It's not sticking, like it's not working like how a typical alcohol ink would work, and I'm not sure what the case of that is or why it's doing that. If anyone knows why that's happening, I would love to know. With the Pinata white, see, it's just like it's not absorbing. It's becoming, it's like clumped. I don't know how to explain it. It's becoming powder before I can actually move it. So, and that was with 99%. I wonder if it's the ink is bad or the ink isn't really an alcohol ink. So it does say alcohol ink, but it wants me to dilute it with the extender, which I won't. It should, if it's alcohol ink, it should typically mix well with alcohol. Okay, so we tried Pinata white, as you saw earlier, and what's happening is the ink itself is breaking up and is drying way too fast. So I'm wondering, is this alcohol ink? And according to it, it is. But white, for some reason, is a very difficult color to find in an alcohol ink that will actually spread evenly. If you have found anything, please let me know. This is all I know that I thought was a good white, but it's obviously not cooperating with me. The other thing I'm going to try, I do have 91%. I'm going to try a little bit of that and see what it does with 91. And if I'm wondering if it's the alcohol itself or is it the ink itself. So let's do a couple more drops. And we're just going to move it around and see. You know, it's breaking up. Like, look at that. That's not good. You see that? It's not allowing me to move it. It's just like clumps of white. So again, I don't know why it's doing that. It was actually working better with the whatchamacallit, with the denatured alcohol. It was actually working a lot better with denatured. Okay, we're gonna try one more attempt with denatured, because denatured seemed like it was better option, but I'm going to put less denatured, and let's see if we're just going to see what it does if it moves on its own. It seems like it's mixing better with denatured. Yeah, see, it's working a lot better with denatured alcohol. Because maybe the ethanol in it? I don't know. So it's thinning down pretty quickly. So we're going to add a little bit more. Okay, that's good. It's drying up kind of nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ink first and then add the alcohol and see if that makes a difference. So there's my white, and then there's the alcohol. It is acting differently with denatured. So we're going to add it again, right there. We're going to add a line now. So this is just a good experiment. It is breaking up in certain areas, like when you put it down, it dries pretty quickly. So now I'm going to add the gold. Again, this is always a learning experience. It's never gonna always work. Should be a song. So we're gonna add this gold in there and see if I can move it around. Okay, let's add a little bit more denatured. So it seems like this works better when the alcohol is dropped on top first, and then you go in and drop the alcohol. I'm sorry, you put the ink down first, and then you put the alcohol to mix with it. Because it doesn't seem like it works the other way around, so I can't add as I go, which kind of sucks unless I let it dry. But it's just a disappointment with this color. Oh my gosh. I know that their gold or their brass is really nice, but not their white, and I'm really disappointed. I was actually expecting to get something really nice out of this painting, but that's not the case. I'm just gonna add a lot. Now I'm really frustrated with it, and I'm gonna see if I can pull anything out of it. I am really frustrated with this color. I wish it would act a little differently. Looks like milk, but it's not as thick as milk. It's just like a watered down white now. I'm kind of disappointed in this white. I thought it would be a lot stronger than this. Not really able to do much with it. You see, it's just a puddle. I'm gonna heat it up to see if anything happens from it. If it does anything with heat. Okay, it's doing something. The heat's kind of helping it clump back together. Constantly moving it around, trying to get it to dissipate, the alcohol to dissipate. So that was really disappointing. I thought I'd be able to do something with the white Pinata alcohol ink, but it didn't work. But you know, I'm gonna post this video because I want people to see how the alcohol reacts with the different alcohols that I have, how this particular ink acts with the alcohols that I have, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I mixed something in there that's wrong. Maybe the denatured alcohol is what caused the first chemical reaction that caused the other alcohols to not work properly. I wiped it down pretty well and I let it dry. Maybe I'm not doing the alcohol ink, the white in particular, correctly. But hey, my failure, gained experience. Hopefully you enjoy this video. My failure, yeah. No, it's okay. I think this was a good learning experience. I can't wait to share more. I'm gonna paint I'm experimenting with different surfaces right now. So carbon fiber has always been a passion of mine, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to be messing with linen next. So I'm going to put some alcohol ink on natural linen, and let's see what happens there. But with natural linen, there's a process that I'm going to have to try before I start alcohol inking, because the alcohol would act just like it'll stain it, and we don't want that. We want it to flow so I can move it around.